Hello everyone and welcome to this new episode of The Wave of Learning. Today we are going to talk about geography and more in particular about the circulation of the ocean current. What type of current exist, how they are created and what is their role in such complex world. Before getting to the heart of the subject, let me introduce to our TP page. Here you can make a donation if you want to support us in our project and help us offer you even more interesting videos. And if you haven't done yet, you can also subscribe to our YouTube channel just by clicking on the subscribe button just below. It's free, fast and helps us a lot. Okay, now get ready, the lesson is about to start. Let's start by defining what an ocean current is. We can describe it as a water movement going from a point A toward a point B. It is measured usually in meters per second or knots. Having a buoy with you will help you to visualize the current and its direction. If the buoy moves on its own, it's because a current is present. So it's up to you to adjust your plan accordingly. But then, how do these water masses move? They can't walk on their own, don't you think? Indeed, to have a movement, it must be a force or an energy causing it, and there are several of them. On the surface, we have mainly the wind which creates currents. By blowing, it carries the water with it. The water begins flowing in the same direction as the wind. But who is responsible of the creation of the winds? Well, the culprit is this crazy big guy, the sun. Because it doesn't warm equally our beautiful planet. The most heated part are the tropics, while the poles receive less warmth. As hot air expands, its pressure increases, causing a movement from the higher pressure toward the lower pressure, which is colder. This creates an air current and by the same occasion activate the sea currents. But there is more. The rotation of the Earth also plays an important role of the direction of the currents. The Coriolis force will affect their direction. This force induced by Earth's rotation will deflect the currents to the right in the northern hemisphere and to the left in the southern hemisphere. By being deflected, the current will meet new air currents which will cause them to change direction once again, forming loops also called gyres. Now let's see a map in which all marine currents are represented. You can clearly see that there are many gyres all around the ocean. This point where the current is stronger is the Gulf Stream. You can notice how big this current is. At the surface, the speed can reach 7.6 miles per hour. I will explain you a little bit later what is his role. We can also differentiate 5 large main gyres. So we have the North Atlantic subtropical gyre, the South Atlantic subtropical gyre, the Northern subtropical gyre, the South subtropical gyre, and the Indian Ocean subtropical gyre. Of course, these currents are observed on the surface, up to 400 meters deep at least. Deeper down, the wind cannot affect directly the marine circulation. So does it mean that water is stagnant in the depths? Well, no, there are many deep currents. Of course, they are slower than the surface counterpart. So let's find out how they all work. Thermohaline circulation. Have you ever heard this expression? In Greek, thermo means heat and halo means saline. Therefore, the currents will be affected by the heat and the salinity. Like this, cold and saltier water will go down, while warmer and less salty waters will rise up to the surface. The amazing thing is that everything is connected. So the surface and the deep currents are not two different phenomena, but they are correlated. Heading towards the pole, surface water will cool down and go deeper. While returning to the equator, they will warm up again and rise up to the surface. Naturally, it's a little bit more complex than that. because salinity comes into play as well. And you have to consider that each ocean has its own salinity. Taking samples anywhere in the world, we can discover where this current comes from. Eventually, scientists discovered that a molecule of water could travel all around the world thanks to the thermohaline circulation, and called the system the Great Ocean Conveyor Belt. Of course, the journey is very long because it takes more or less 1000 years to the molecule of water to complete it. Before finishing, let's talk about the role current plays. First of all, they transport organic matter, allowing life to develop. Have you ever noticed that where there are currents there are also even more life? The most spectacular case is where deep waters, rich in nutrients, rise to the surface due to the topography and the wind. This phenomenon is called upwelling. In this place, life abounds because there is food for everyone. Worldwide, we have 5 coastal currents associated with an upwelling area. So we have the Canary Current in northern Africa, the Bengal Current in southern Africa, the California Current in California and Oregon, the Humboldt Current in Peru and Chile, and the Somali Current in Somalia and Oman. Unfortunately, these areas are the most plundered by large fishing vessels, who are fishing more than is needed and contribute to the extinction of many species. If you also find this revolting, you can take action by a very simple starting step. Buying fish caught by our local fishermen, you are promoting less destructive and less invasive fishing methods. It also helps our local activities to survive from their work, as they are struggling due to the big companies. Lastly, the currents play also a role in the regulation of the climate. Take for example the Gulf Stream. This big current transports the tropical heat from the Gulf of Mexico to the northern Atlantic, therefore playing a role in the climatic balance as we know. We can compare for instance the Brittany in France and the Quebec in Canada, which are almost at the same latitude. But the Gulf Stream is not passing through the Canada. We can observe that the Brittany is milder than the Quebec, because the Gulf Stream is passing near the French coast and so warming its coast. There would be many things to say about the Gulf Stream, and we will explain you everything in another episode specifically dedicated to it. This lesson is now over, and if you are still here, it's because you are part of our studio student passionate about the sea. So you can write in the comment section, I love and respect the sea. I wish you a nice day and see you the next week.